Well, I wanted to begin the interview by welcoming you, Luis, to Aaron's Opinion. Welcome to the podcast. We're glad to have you, as always. And I'm going to say this in the intro, but I do want to make a point that it's really important to send audio messages to introduce yourself when you join a community, especially the various blindness groups that you're in on Facebook. So Luis, that's how I knew you. And I might have invited you to the podcast if you had written it out in text. But one of
Right,
the main reasons why I did invite you is because you clearly showed me that you want to talk. When
right.
someone sends an audio message, it means they have some things to get off their chest. They have a story to tell, and I'm pleased to help them. I'm pleased to help you, Luis. So go
Okay, thank
ahead
you.
and tell us your story. Let's go back a little. You can take it
Um,
from when you
could I
became.
could I interrupt you really quick? Just two things about that. Like the reason I put a voice message as I
Yes.
introduced myself to the blind group was because sometime back, maybe like a month ago, somebody reached out to me in one of the groups, and the person was kind of like fishy, kind of shady. Like it was this girl, right? That she was like not blind, but she was in the group, and she had
Hmm.
like a very strange story, right? And I was kind of trying, like talking to her here and there, not like in a serious way or anything, but her story just kind of didn't really make sense sometimes. And I asked her like one time, can you send me like an audio clip of your voice? And I would send her some of mine, and then there were always all these excuses, like nowadays you don't really have an excuse because your phone, your
Yeah,
computer, you have access to that. But there was always like an excuse, and that sorry, that's an alarm that's going off. It'll
that's
go off in
fine.
a
That's
bit.
fine.
So anyway, like she was kind of like always evading it and saying, "Oh, when I get out of work," or this and that, like, "Oh, I'm busy now," or whatever. And it was just kind of strange to me. So, uh, and the person kind of had asked me about to download WhatsApp, and I don't know why. And then when I talked to some of my friends, they're cited, not that it matters, right? But they kind of told me, be careful because there's this thing called
Hmm.
phishing,
Yeah.
and they'll kind of like lure you there. And it's kind of because WhatsApp is a little safer. Like I guess they don't check in on the chats. I don't know why they prefer WhatsApp or whatever. But I had a WhatsApp, but I never told that person that I had it. And then one time I was just kind of curious, so I did tell them my number, and then they messaged me there, and I was like, "Can you send me an audio message now?" Because that was the excuse, that WhatsApp or whatever. And then when I finally got on WhatsApp, I checked on the number, and it was like some like super long number, like. And then I kind of I copied that number, put it on Google, and it said that it was like a Nigerian number. So I was like, oh wow, so um, it didn't last long. It was like 2 3 days, like very like limited, come back and forth. But that's kind of why I kind of like, since then I'm kind of more into trying to hear people's voices, just to
Yeah.
not have any kind of confusion or anything. And it does help also, aside from it helping like to get an idea of what the person sounds like and their personalities, because you can tell a lot from the way people talk, their tone, their voice, stuff like that. So it does help, and that's kind of what kind of pushed me a little bit to want to do that, just so I could kind of hear other people's voices. So that was kind of more of the goal. Um,
Cool. Cool.
yeah, and then back to like I'm not super okay. I'm a little more talkative now. Well, probably a lot more. My
Well,
brother.
good.
Yeah, I have a twin brother, and we're very opposites. Like he's more like the quiet introvert, and I'm a little more outspoken and outgoing now. But when I was in high school, because I grew up with like a vision issue, like I was considered legally blind, I guess from elementary up until, well, pretty much, till I lost my eyesight completely. But when I was in elementary, I was kind of comfortable because, well, you kind of know the people you're with, it's kind of a smaller classroom. And I went to public school. So I had friends. Uh, and for the most part, you're comfortable because it's like a smaller group. Uh, and even though I was visually impaired, it wasn't like a big deal until like when I got to middle school and high school. And when it got to those years, I became very like quiet, You kind of I didn't want to stand out, just kind of wanted to fit in, not stand out. Cause I knew like I used like a magnifier and a monocular. to watch to see the chalkboard, stuff like that. But when it came to sports, I could play sports. And in high school, I could do just about everything except drive. But I was very quiet, like super quiet, to the point that in my gym class, when I was a senior, we were playing basketball, and it was like one of the last days of school. And I asked one of the guys, they're like, "Hey, pass me the ball. I gotta, like an open shot or whatever." And then later, that guy came up to me and he said, "Man, you can talk. I thought you were like mute and deaf. So that's how quiet I was, I guess, to the point that this person thought that I was like, deaf mute. So it's been a completely different, and it's because when I lost my eyesight, I kind of figured, well, what's the point if you're gonna, when you're handicapped to begin with, people already want to like ignore you. So I was like, well, like there's no, I don't know if you get what I'm saying, like,
I
because I
definitely
guess,
do. I
yeah,
definitely
because
get you.
yeah, because
Yes.
when I couldn't see, when I was visually impaired, people couldn't tell that I was visually impaired. Like I had like I guess they call it an invisible disability. So I looked normal to everybody, and only if you knew me, you could really I guess know that I had eye problems. So I guess that's why I didn't want to stand out. Especially in high school when you're like very when you care about a lot about people's opinions, peer pressure, fitting in, all that. So even I was even like, because I had a VI teacher that would come see me. And I didn't learn Braille the way I should have, because I was comfortable with my eyesight. I never thought that I was going to lose it, because it was always very stable. So I never really like, I regret that, like not knowing Braille the way I could have, because even to this day, I don't know Braille, but I thank God for, voiceover, for Apple, for technology, and for, living in the age that we live in, because if I had lost my eyesight, in the 70s and the 80s, it would have been, completely different, because thanks to that accessibility of the iPhones, the iPad, pretty much I have everything Apple because it's just very intuitive for me to use it. And when I was losing my eyesight, I was starting to like YouTube Apple tutorials on how to use VoiceOver, and I had I don't know, it just helped a lot. You know what I mean?
Excellent. Good. Good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I completely, Luis, I completely
Uh-huh.
understand you. And for someone who was so shy and wasn't sure that they could,
Uh-huh.
talk,
Right.
that was perfect. That's exactly the
Yeah. Well, now
response.
I don't know. I annoy my brother a lot because he's like the total opposite. Like I was telling you, like it's just a whole different. We're very opposites. Like we're fraternal twins. Oh, and let me tell you about something about that. So you can kind of have an idea about my mom. Okay, so yeah, so me and my brother, he's older by a minute, right? Okay, well, okay, I kind of give it away, right? But okay, so growing up, my brother and I would ask my mom like, "Who's older?" And she would tell me like, she would tell us like, "I'm older," even though I'm smaller than him and a little shorter. Well, at the time we were kind of like around the same height or whatever. So every time our friends would ask us who's older, I would say, "Well, me." My mom told us I'm older, and why would she not know? She's our mom. And so every time I would tell, whenever somebody would ask us, I was older brother. But when we turned 18, for whatever reason, my brother Juan, which is very typical Mexican names like Juan and Luis, right? So my brother Juan, he kind of like asked my mom like, let me see the birth certificates because I just want to know like what hour we were born. I guess just for him to know, right? And then, but I don't know if he like doubted her or anything. But when he saw both of our certificates, he's like, "Hey, I'm actually older than you." So he kind of comes up to me and tells me, "Hey, I'm older." And we kind of go to my mom, and she's like, "Well, I didn't really think it was a big deal, but it is a big deal, especially like so pretty much I was older than my brother technically for 18 years, and we're 35 now, so he's been older for like 17 years, so we're almost like caught up as far as who's been older. So but that's just kind of to say like my mom's very like not very typical. You know what I mean? So
All right. All right.
yeah.
Okay, good, good, cool,
Sorry.
cool. So no worries. No, that's no,
Mm-hmm.
Luis, you're doing perfectly. This is the type of guest I want.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay.
well, back to WhatsApp. Well, I still hope you have WhatsApp because
Right.
I have a special WhatsApp group that you can join after the
Okay.
recording for all of the
Awesome.
guests of Aaron's Opinion from all over the world. So it's a great
Right.
place. You can go in there and introduce yourself and talk to everyone else and share
Awesome.
stories, and it's a really good networking tool.
Awesome.
for all the guests. So I still hope you have
Awesome.
WhatsApp, and I'm glad you didn't fall.
Yes, I do have it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
kept it just in case because you never know. I like I guess the ease of like sharing files and doing the voice. I guess recording your voice onto it, like the voice messages, is very easy. So I like that part of it.
Yeah, and the reason why I use it, actually, the reason why I use WhatsApp, and the same reason why that Nigerian scammer uses
Right.
WhatsApp,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
are the same reason. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
WhatsApp is encrypted,
Exactly.
meaning it's an encryption program, meaning it's a secure
Hmm.
global platform that not even WhatsApp can read or intercept the messages. Suppose
Exactly.
supposedly that's what they say. It is the most secure way to send information
Wow.
around the world. So it's a
Yeah,
global. Yeah,
makes
we have
sense.
people from we have people from all the continents on that thing. But
Yeah.
yeah, that does not surprise me. But
Right.
the fact is, we have great listeners from Aaron's Opinion all over the world, even in even in Gambia, Nigeria,
Wow.
Tunisia, all
Hmm.
over the world. There are a lot of great
That's
people who
awesome.
listen. Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, and I was gonna say, that I think it is important to send voice notes because you're showing the other person that you want to communicate with them. And
Right.
that's what you showed me, and that's what really inspired me to reach out to you and say, hey, maybe
Hmm.
this guy would want to be on my podcast. You never know,
Right.
because if you're already talking, you're already basically creating a record
Right.
of what you're saying, which is what a
Right.
podcast is, right? So
Right.
I thought, hey, not a bad idea at all.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, well, yeah,
Um,
and so have other
could I tell you the reason why I joined the support group?
please, please do.
Yeah. So I'm new to the whole blind support group, but I've been blind for
Right,
10 years.
right.
But I never had really joined anything online,
Mm-hmm.
on Facebook. I was just kind of like, on Facebook, I just have like high school friends, quote unquote friends, because everyone's like an acquaintance or for the most part. But I had never joined any group in general. And then, like, I guess because of COVID, there's a lot of mental health issues that have been going on, especially this past year. Because of I guess people being isolated and things like those. So I was getting a little more anxious, a little more like, I don't know, like apprehensive. I don't know. I was just on edge. You know what I mean? So just because of the lack of social interaction, and I kind of thought, well, I've never really thought about joining any of these support groups. So you never know. It would help, to know that I'm not alone. I'm not the only blind person that's feeling a little isolated, even more so because of all this, being locked down and things like those. So that's the reason why I even decided to join those support groups. And I mean, it can be from the people that I've talked to, they can say it can be a little dramatic. There can be drama here and there, but it's like, but you really do build a community if you find like a group of people that you really relate with or get along with. It can really be very, very beneficial. So that's the main reason that I joined it, and I've made like two good friends through it. So it's already been worth it. If I could have made one friend, that would have already been worth it. So I already consider it like a success. Even though it's been like 2 months, but it's already been beneficial because it's already kind of and it helps me because sometimes you kind of get caught up in like your own world and you think like, oh, this is horrible, was my life or this and that. Not that it's like super horrible, but perspective wise, like some of the other people that post there, it's kind of like, oh man, I'm very lucky and blessed compared to what this person is going through. And it's kind of like not, I mean, it kind of makes you feel better, but it's kind of like in a bad way. But you know what I mean? Like just knowing that there's people that are, you're not as bad as you think you are. And it's always going to be like that. You always kind of need that perspective that there's always someone worse off than you, like especially in other countries. And it's kind of like, and that's, well, when I first lost my eyesight, which was in 2011, I was 25 at the time. I had depression for like 3-4 months. But what got me out of it was my faith in God. First of all, it did help me through it, and then the support of my family, my friends, and the church that I attend. And I was having panic attacks during that time, and I was like, I felt like I was gonna faint whenever I would go out. So I would only go to church, and then like anything beyond that, it was kind of like, I guess because it was something that I wasn't like comfortable with still, because I was still like not really accepting my blindness, or I don't know. It was kind of like the whole time I was losing my eyesight, my fear was going blind. And then finally, when I did go blind, I kind of finally um, it just kind of hit me. Okay, like you're blind. This is what you were fearing. Now it's here. You're alive. So what's next? So when I hit that point and I started to focus on like the blessings and think like, okay, like you're blind, but you can think, you can listen, you can speak, you can walk, just, you have your family, all these things. And starting, instead of kind of focusing on the things you lost, you kind of focus on the things you have. And that's already like your attitude makes a big difference, so that helped me a lot at that time. And I just kind of fell into it a little bit doing this whole COVID thing. So it's always good to have that perspective, and it's always good to network, because I mean we're social beings. We do need to interact with each other. Even even the person who's like the most independent or the most even the lone wolf kind of person, even they need to interact with people at times, because I mean we're human beings, and that's something that it's in our nature.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's that's a really excellent attitude to have about life. And it's totally different from my attitude because see, I was born blind, Luis. I didn't
Right,
have to become
right,
blind. As I've said, and you
right.
at home who've been listening to the show for several years can understand that I've said I can never understand what that must be
Hmm.
like,
Right.
but that must be really weird. I mean, to
Hmm.
be a sighted person and then to have to transition to having a disability and needing to just do things differently forever. I mean,
Right.
that must be just bizarre.
Yeah.
I can't even begin to comprehend. Um,
Right. And
and
likewise, I wouldn't be
mhm.
able to understand like never seeing, like, likewise,
That's
it's the same
true.
thing.
That's true.
Hmm.
You could never understand. Now, in my case, I have some usable vision,
Oh,
which
awesome.
is good, but still, I will never be able to fully comprehend what it would be like
Right.
to be sighted, right?
Right. Right.
And so, yeah. And that is all very interesting. The other good thing is I'm glad you made two friends
Hmm.
in the group. Hopefully, of course, you consider me one of the friends in the group.
Uh,
I certainly try to be. I
awesome.
will tell
Hopefully.
you,
Hmm.
I certainly don't comment in there too often because of the drama.
Hmm.
Because
Right.
between you and um, I think that there's just too much drama in a lot of these support groups, and I tend to not comment below,
Hmm.
as we
Right.
say. For me to
Right.
have reached out, it's pretty unusual. I don't always do it. I'm pretty
Right.
selective about when I
Right.
reach out to someone else.
Right.
So, you know, um, that's one factor to keep in the back of your mind,
Yeah.
that you will always see quite a bit of drama in those groups. Um,
Right.
and back to what you just out of interest. So this hacker scammer person, did you ever like report their profile, or did they just
Uh,
sort of disappear?
I contacted one of the administrators from
Mm-hmm.
the from that support group.
Good.
And then
Okay.
she messaged me back and she said that she had already been reported by several others. So, and it wasn't just her, there was like another one. So it was like a girl, well, quote unquote a girl. What, I don't know what they were, but
Probably
there
a
was like
guy,
a,
right? Probably some guy. Usually it's men
right,
pretending to be.
right.
Yeah, I get those a lot too. Women that are clearly men, but they pretend
Hmm.
they spam me or they send me hacker messages or things like that. That's a big
Right,
problem now. Mm.
right. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. So there were two of them. There was like a male and a female profile. So probably both. Yeah. So they were like at around the same time. So I guess they were like phishing, I guess.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, it's very, very concerning.
Hmm.
And not surprising.
Right.
So hopefully, those profiles were reported, and then those people will just go to the next group and continue
Right.
that, I guess,
Yeah, that's the
probably.
thing about it. They would just change their profile, create a new profile. It's just very easy to just kind of do it over and over.
Yeah, yeah. That's certainly very interesting. All of that,
Right.
all of that is, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, and by the way, how did you become blind? To what is the cause of your blindness 10 years ago?
Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna kind of take. I'll be a little bit more detailed, I guess, with how it was. Um, well, growing up, I was like I said, I was visually impaired, and it was kind of like I had macular degeneration and macular scars. So I guess that's what affected my vision in the first place. So like I said, it was stable up until 2009. I was in my well, and I was in a college class. I was in one of my college classes at the time, and I don't know if we were like the teacher was just handing out papers, or we are kind of looking at some kind of a form or a paper or whatever it was. And then all of a sudden, when during that class, my the vision in my right eye just started getting blurry. Like it just blurred out of nowhere. It got blurry, and I was just
Wow.
like, kind of like, oh, like what's
That's what
going on?
that's okay. I'm thinking it.
Hmm.
So you're already in a stressful setting in a
Right.
college class
Yeah.
with a bunch that is not the time where you would want to have something like that start to head. That is
Yeah.
really awkward. That is really
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah. So,
So what
so
did
I
you
kind of
do?
started. Well, I started to worry, but I didn't like want to make a scene or anything.
Right.
So I kind of just started kind of like breathing, or just kind of trying to calm down there on my chair. And I was just kind of thinking, okay, okay, like when this class ends, I'm just gonna go to, I don't know, the restroom or something. I just need to, kind of like, hopefully within time it can kind of like, I can focus again. My vision can clear again. So,
And by the way, and in many cases it does. Sometimes when
right.
you're if you're sighted, sometimes you get something in your
Hmm.
eye and your eye kind of gets stuck for a second. That's not uncommon either.
Right.
That's not uncommon at all. So it was reasonable for you to think, oh, I'll go splash some water on it,
Right.
just sort of keep it closed and just be restful with it and see if it
Yeah.
clears up in the morning. That's not at all unreasonable. Sure. And then what? So you went
Right.
to the restroom and then what? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was like well, the class finally ended, and I was just kind of there like trying to not to make a scene. Like I said, like, oh, like not just like scream, get on top of my desk and say I'm going blind or something crazy. Just didn't want to make a scene, right? So when it ended, I did go to the restroom, and then it kind of like it did kind of like after like 30 minutes more or less, it kind of focused a little bit. Hmm? No. No, estoy otra cosa. Sorry about that. My mom was
No
asking about my
worries.
brother. Okay. um, yeah. So it cleared, but it wasn't the same. Like I knew the vision I had before that point, and then after that, I knew the vision wasn't the same anymore. So I noticed like it declined. Uh, and again, I was kind of like, okay, let's see if maybe in a day or two, whatever. So 3 days passed, and I was like already concerned because it wasn't improving. So I was like, well, let me go to a retina specialist, or I went to a regular eye doctor first, and pretty much like as soon as they did like they checked the retina, they were like very confused. They didn't know what to do, and then they they kind of sit me down and they tell me, I'm gonna send you to this friend of mine. He's a retina specialist, and you need to go like right away. you know and I was already like scared because he's kind of like telling me like he's just like making it seem like very urgent. And I ask him like, what is it that you think it is? And he tells me, well, I don't know, but it seems like it could be this kind of like an autoimmune disease where your body attacks itself or something. That's what he said. Like it could be this. So I was already like that made me afraid. And he tells me, just may God help you, and you go. And that's kind of like the last thing he told me. So like my friend drives me over to the specialist, and he kind of looks at me like very briefly, and he says it's you have angiomas in the retinas. So it wasn't that other thing, which I guess would have been worse, right? But angiomas are like benign tumors in your retinas, and so that was the thing. And those angiomas, they started causing all kinds of complications. Like there's a lot of eye inflammation. There was like fluid leaking. So pretty much, he said that I was going to lose my eyesight within 2 years, and that's pretty much what happened. So
Hmm.
within a year, um, all those issues were going on. So I was losing my eyesight like every week that would pass. I noticed that my eyesight was just decreasing. So it was like from one week to the next, and I kept going to the eye doctor because I was like very well, trying to preserve your vision as much as you can. So they were doing kind of different procedures, like injections to the eye, which is very, I mean, that's just, that's something that's very icky, very like, you don't, because I would see the needle kind of going into like, approaching, and it's just something that I very uncomfortable. I mean, just the idea of it, So, and I had several of those. They were like steroid injections,
Yeah.
trying to like lower the inflammation of the cornea or the retina. All these things that were going on. So there were like laser treatments, those injections, and finally the detachment. There was a retinal detachment in the right eye, and then a few months later the left eye. And every time they did a surgery to do the attachment to reattach, the vision was lost. So that's what happened, and I mean, I was like still going to college at that time, so it was a very difficult to I managed to graduate, barely, because I like pretty much the last semester was just a practicum. So my vision wasn't there anymore, but I still managed to graduate with a bachelor in rehabilitation. So in a way that
Oh,
helped me, because I was able to kind of rehab myself just with some of the things like, the grieving process, stuff like that. So in a way, I kind of like it kind of fit in that I had learned some things, that I actually had to kind of apply to myself, like, uh, as far as like acceptance and going through the process, So I do have my degree in that, and I would have had a minor in English, but I was like a credit short or a class short of it. But there was no way I was going to do that, because I mean, tons of reading, there was no way at that point that I would have been able to get that last class in.
right, right. So originally, why were you studying rehab? I think it's a very
Uh-huh.
relevant discussion, a very relevant topic for sure.
Right. Well, at first, art was my major, because I thought I was actually good at art until I took a college class and I saw everyone else's talent compared to mine. They were very talented, and then even one of my teachers said, "Are you allergic to following directions or something like that?" So I kind of knew, like, okay, this isn't gonna be my major. And then I switched majors like two or three different times. So one was a Spanish major, and then I was thinking of majoring in English, and then finally rehab. And I felt rehab was it, because I had kind of grown up in the system, being visually impaired. So I kind of had like, I knew what it kind of was like with counselors coming to see me, VI teachers, and I knew it was kind of like the start of something. And also, you want to help people out, you want to help people dealing with situations and things like that. So I guess for me, it just felt like the natural major to take, like degree to try to get, because I had been pretty much exposed to it my whole life, rehabilitation, whether it be like through, well, here it's DARS. DARS is the agency, the Texas agency that we have. So I guess just being in that, like my whole, high school, my whole school life, really, that was kind of like what made sense to me.
Hmm. Okay. Well, that's really interesting. Now, were you going to university in Texas
Yes,
when you?
yes,
Okay.
a local one here. Yeah.
Good. Good. That's fine. That's fine. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very, very interesting. So, all right. Well, now you're blind, and
Mm-hmm.
for those 10 years, basically, what have you accomplished and been working on since?
Well, I've been very involved with my church. I just kind of, my faith grew a lot through my
Okay.
experience. So I help with as much as I can at church. So I've been a deacon at church. Uh, so I help the pastor with whatever I can. I'm kind of like the designated secretary in a way, because I always kind of send texts out reminding people about certain things or birthdays, things like that. So I just help as much what I can, but also just being, I guess, getting used to all the technology that there is, as far as learning to use the iPad, the app, the iPhone, things like those. And just, I mean, trying to be, trying to help my family out the best I can, like, it's emotional support or anything like that. Just trying to, you know, help in any way I can. Like not just my family, but any friends, anybody that needs help. If there's anything that I could do to help them, I'm willing to help them. Um, so that's pretty much been what I've been trying to do. but I'm open to, well, anything really. But that's kind of been it, I guess just try not to be you know anxious about things, about life in general, because I know sometimes people are kind of afraid of change, and it's something that happens. It's inevitable. Life is change, so it's just something that's gonna happen regardless.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. I think certain unusual changes happen throughout life, maybe to steer us in the right
Mm-hmm.
direction.
Right. Right.
That is definitely the case for many people. My life has been like that too, except I've been blind the whole time, so
Right.
it's not,
Right.
for me, it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
Or
But
there
even
have
like
been, hmm
right. Even like I mean other things, other factors like an illness or the death of a loved one,
sure,
especially during this COVID thing. Like I mean, change has happened. I mean, well, literally in the world, has changed completely. But even families have been torn apart. Like just a lot of change that it's unexpected. It's what's very sad, very tragic, but it's kind of
mm,
like a part of life. And it's just, I mean, us as blind people, I know sometimes we kind of get very comfortable with routines, and just having things a certain way. And I've kind of noticed that from some of the people posting. But I mean, sometimes change scares people, especially blind people, I think. But it's just something that, I mean, it's inevitable, life and death, like death and taxes kind of thing. Those are the things that are only, the only things that are like that's for sure. So it's just one of those things that when change happens, we just want to be ready for it and not just completely freeze under it.
right. Oh, definitely. And what has given you the impression that so many blind people love their schedule? Because I certainly do. So
Right.
I think that's a common interest of people who are blind to
Right.
be interested in doing things a certain way at a certain time. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's good. Like routine helps you, like having structure helps you. But as far I just kind of meant in a way as far as like depending too much on people, because sooner or later, like I mean, I'm guilty of it myself because I depend on my family a lot. But I know that eventually, like, mm, I don't really like to think about it, right? But I know my mom's gonna pass on eventually, and that's just something that I mean, it's gonna affect me. It's gonna affect my siblings also. So it's just about. I mean, I try to enjoy my family the best I can every day because I know it's not a guarantee. Like I was kind of saying, life is not a guarantee. It's kind of been more evident this past year. So I think routine is good because it's structure. It gives you like it keeps people like whenever someone's depressed, they tell people have some kind of structure in your life. Do this at this time and then exercise if you can. Structure is good. I'm just kind of saying as far as being too dependent on like being too closed off to change, I guess, or not reacting good to change. Like if something kind of throws your schedule off, not to just like be OCD about it. I guess is what I'm saying.
Sure, sure. No, I live on schedule.
Right.
I could not imagine a lifestyle without schedule, but then there are people
Right. They're
who
very
are a
spontaneous.
and still they get things done, which I don't understand
Right.
how to do that. I don't know how
Right.
you can get things done without a schedule to do them, but
Right.
people do it.
Right. Right.
Hmm.
Yeah. I guess it just depends on every person. Every person's different. So how whatever works for every person.
Right, sure, sure. So are you planning on doing some work for doors? Do you work with doors now?
Not currently because I you need to get a master's to be like working with a state agency or a government agency. Like a lot of the people that I graduated with, they're actually like not in rehabilitated because in rehab because it's kind of hard to get into. I know a lot of them are teachers, different professions, right? But I mean, I'm open to it. It's just about learning. I mean, certain things, right? Like or building confidence again, really, and going to school. Because it's never too late to go to school. So you never say never.
Sure, sure. So when you're taking these rehab classes, what are you learning? Like what is the content of a rehab major?
Well, there was like the general rehab, and then there was like one that was specializing in drug addictions. So it's kind of just like it kind of goes over uh, how to be like a case manager. There's one called like case management, one that was like introduction to drug addiction. So it's kind of, it just covers like the basics, like the introduction to, rehabilitation. And then when you get your bachelor's, you can, you can get more specific, and that would be the master's program. But it's very competitive, and like I said, I lost my eyesight right before, like, well, when I graduated. So it's kind of like, it just kind of threw me off as far as what was next. And at the time, I was living alone in an apartment that was like walking distance to the school I was at. So I lived alone like for 5 6 years until I lost my eyesight. But I mean, my brother went to UT Austin, and he was a salutatorian of our high school class. So I mean, that was I mean, a very good accomplishment, because my mom was born in Mexico. So me and my brother are the first generation, born here, and for him to have gotten like number two in our whole like grade class, that was like a very good accomplishment, something that we're very proud of. And he went to UT Austin, and he became a civil engineer. So it's just been a very, we're very proud of him because of, our upbringing and our background.
Well, that's really good. Yeah, that's excellent. Sure, sure. And since you have become blind, and since you have certainly joined the blind and the blindness groups on Facebook, have you ever listened outside of Aaron's opinion? Have you listened to other um, blindness related podcasts? And have you ever guested on any podcasts from around the world?
Um, well, this is the first time that I'm ever in guesting in a podcast. Um, and have I listened to other podcasts? I've skimmed through some of them, because some people post their podcasts on the blind support groups, and there's several blind people that are actually doing their own content, whether it be podcasts or YouTube videos. So I check some out, like not consistently, but I've seen several. And then as far as being in a podcast, like when I was going through my anxiety uh, and a little bit of depression, one of my friends suggested like that I should start like some kind of like a YouTube thing, or like a YouTube channel or a podcast, just because I'm very big into like audio equipment. Like I have a lot of like headphones, headphone speakers, the Bluetooth earbuds, just a lot of technology. And so he was saying like, because I like to watch a lot of the reviews on equipment, like the headphone reviews, cell phone reviews, all kinds of reviews, like the tech reviews. So he said maybe I could do something like that, because I have a lot of the technology. So I kind of thought about it. It's more about kind of like keeping yourself busy, like keep your mind busy, so you don't like, because like I said, I could be like a hypochondriac, because if I think about it, and before you know it, I'm gonna think I'm pregnant. You know what I mean? From Googling all these things. You know what I mean? But that's how bad the hypochondria can get.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
yeah,
like
that's
I'm hungry, I'm dizzy. Before you know it, oh, am I pregnant? But it's just kind of, it's just one of those things that our mind is such a, our mind can be very crazy. So that's what I'm saying. So my friend knows me, he knows how I can get. So he was telling me like try to stay busy with like that, either do a YouTube thing, or start a podcast or something. And I bought the equipment. So and I told him like, I don't really, it's more like to spend time with you guys. So I started meeting with my friends for like 4 weekends in a row, and we are kind of just recording like different uh like just ourselves talking about like whatever, like TV shows, movies, stuff like that. And just kind of like, well, just interacting.
right, right.
And
Now, good, good, cool, cool. Now, are these like blind friends that you guys do this with, or
uh
just any friends?
no, these are like my, well, these were my three, I've had three best friends. Two of my friends I've known since fourth grade, and then my other friend I've known since ninth grade. So they're my three best friends. And then when I started going to church, or at a church that I joined it in 2005. like summer 2005. So that's another friend that I know. So I've all my friends are sighted. So we just kind of talk about, well, anything really. But so and I told my friend, like, I don't really care about it being up or not. It's just kind of like more for me, like just fun, just for fun or whatever. But I told him, if you want to put them up, I'll just send you the audio clips. I'll email them, and then you want to put them up if you want. So he actually had put them up on YouTube, and I think we've done like 3 or 4 of them. But then he got really busy, and that's the thing, kind of like, because I don't know, like, I'm not like you who can like kind of like do it, like carry a podcast by himself, or you know what I mean. So I always want to have like somebody, like a sidekick or friends to kind of bounce things off of. Uh, so that kind of, it's been a while since I got together with them to record it. But on the blind support group, there's a friend that I recently met, maybe like 2 3 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks ago actually, and we talk about movies and stuff like that. And she likes podcasts a lot. So I mentioned that I had the equipment, and she said, well, maybe me and you could try, you know, just for fun, doing a podcast ourselves. So we've done 2 episodes, me and her,
Oh well,
and
let's
it's on
let's
YouTube
get her.
also.
Well, let's get her on here. Whoever that is, they're
Uh-huh.
welcome. They're welcome here at Aaron's Opinion. Let's get
Right.
her on. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And she's partially sighted. But she has an interesting story also. So yeah, she would be very interesting to talk to as well. But yeah, it's just kind of like we've agreed on like movies to watch, and then we kind of give our opinions about the movies. Like, she watches it, I guess, without the audio description, and I watch it with audio description. Then we kind of just give our feedback on it, and it's
Wow.
just,
Okay. You know what?
yeah.
I've never. You know what? I have a. I have
Hmm.
a criticism, a constructive critical remark to make
Right.
about that, and then I have something really positive to say.
Go
I
for it. Uh-huh.
absolutely okay. Here's the criticism. I cannot stand movie reviews. I hate it when people talk about why a movie's great. You know what? If it's so good,
Hello.
okay. Yeah. Hello. Are
Okay, I
you
can hear you
there?
there.
Okay. Good.
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yeah, good, good, cool, cool. If a movie is so good, okay, I'm
Hmm.
gonna watch it
Hmm.
myself. Okay, I don't
Right.
need to watch somebody tell me how great a movie is. But
Right.
you turned. You know what? You made me think of something, Luis, that has never occurred to me. I think there's a void
Hmm.
because I haven't seen it, and I basically compel you. I basically assign you as now a member of Aaron's Opinion to please do this. I want you to produce more episodes of your own podcast where you watch videos with the description and then you
No.
give an accurate review
Oh,
from
okay,
a
okay.
blindness perspective. I've never seen it before. I've never seen
Right.
that done, and I think that's a void. Yeah, yeah. Hmm.
Right.
So yeah,
I've actually heard of it being done. I think he calls himself the blind reviewer, and he does watch movies like that. Like, it's
really.
kind of, I saw that on yeah, I think I saw that on I think he came out like on a, like one of those late night shows, and then I think I saw something about him. I think he calls himself the blind movie critic or the blind movie reviewer, something like that. And he doesn't like to use audio descriptive. I think he just like to see it like that, like blind is, it's kind of what's it's interesting, that concept. But I mean, it'd be good if he was to, I don't know if he does it, but to watch it blind and then watch it with audio descriptive. That'd be interesting to see, like, if it changes his perspective or his opinion on the movie.
Right, right, exactly. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes.
But that's
Yeah,
something that could
that's
be done,
yeah,
well, by us too. Yeah.
you could you could definitely watch that. You could definitely watch movies like that and then, give your review from a blindness perspective. I
Right.
think I think that's really cool. That's never really for me, that's never really
Yeah.
been done. I've never really spent time thinking about that. Um,
Right.
but certainly blind people watch movies, so it's
Hmm.
something that probably does need to be done. So yeah.
Right. Right.
And what are some movies that you have seen?
Um. Well, I watch a lot of movies, or my brother watches tons of movies. He goes to the movie theater like every weekend.
What?
But I've
Whoa.
watched. Yeah, he's a big movie junkie. He loves movies. Well, I guess he says that. because he gets stressed out at work, so he says just kind of going to the movies just kind of relaxes him. It's kind of like the way he, I guess
Yeah.
it helps him. Yeah, it's like his escape, right? So
Oh,
that works for
sure.
him, and yeah, so he loves that the movie experience because I don't know if you know, but this year like the movies that are made by Warner Brothers, they've been coming out like on HBO Max. If you have HBO Max, so you get the Warner Brothers movies, like you can watch them at your house if you have that service, and then they come out in the theaters at the same time for like a month. And
Hmm.
we have access to the movies here at the house, but he's still like, I tell him, hey, this movie's here, we could watch it here. But he's like, no, I want to go to the movies, like even though it's the
Yeah.
same movie, but he likes the experience.
Well,
So it's
but
just
you
one of
know
those
what? No,
things.
but it's true because he'll be able to get much better popcorn at the
Oh
theater
yeah,
than that's
right.
what? No, and I mean, of course, I'm
Uh-huh.
being funny, and the audience will laugh about that.
Oh no, no.
No, I mean, of course, I'm being silly about that about the popcorn, but that is the reason. If you ask him, but what's the
Yeah.
real? But
No,
if you ask him, if you ask
he
him
tells
one,
me himself.
what's the real reason why you do that? I guarantee you, he'll say the popcorn and Dr. Pepper.
Oh yeah, like it's the movie food for sure. Because he
Yeah,
says every time before he goes, he says, "I'm gonna get the movie nachos, or I'm gonna get the pizza. I'm gonna get the," like he kind of changes it up. But he's always looking forward to like the food he's gonna eat at the movie. So it's everything. It's the whole thing, like the experience, the food. I mean everything. So he enjoys it a lot. And
that's
I've gone
funny.
to the
That's funny.
movies with him like late. I hadn't gone to the movies like in a year. And something. Okay, so I hadn't gone to the movies like in a year since COVID, and
Uh-huh.
then a friend of mine told me like you should go check out A Quiet Place Part Two, and I haven't even seen A Quiet Place Part One, but I don't know if you've heard about that movie, A Quiet Place.
It sounds like a horror movie, right?
Yeah, it is a horror movie, and it's kind of like aliens come from. Well, it's kind of
Oh, I
a
love that
mystery.
type of. Oh, I love alien. I love this type of thing. Tell me all about it, man.
Okay. All right. Well, they're like kind of like monsters, right? So they're kind of like monsters that like I don't. They came out of nowhere, and they kind of just like it's like a post-apocalyptic kind of movie. Apocalyptic kind of
Oh,
movie. Yeah.
oh.
So pretty much like these aliens are blind, right? But they have excellent hearing. Okay.
Hmm.
So the human beings, they have to be super quiet, to kind of like be able to survive. Like they just have to be very careful not to make noise. So there was a part one to that, and I hadn't seen it. And so my brother was gonna go see it because I knew it was gonna come out the week, like the week after I saw it, or the week I knew when my brother was gonna go see it. So I made it a point to watch it, the week before, so I could go with him. So I watched it, and I liked it. It was good. And there's a rule that my brother has with me. This should tell you how big of a movie buff he is, right? So uh, he has to have seen a movie like at least one time before he takes me to see it. Because I tend to sometimes want to go to the restroom, right? So he doesn't want to like he doesn't want to have to like take me to the restroom and miss any part of the movie. So that's his role with me. Like because last time we went with some friends to see Jurassic Park,
Mm-hmm.
and we were watching Jurassic Park, and during the movie, like maybe like an hour into it, I kind of like, hey, I told him, like, and we're all with friends, right? And I told him, hey, Juan, I have to pee. Can you take me? And he's like, he kind of like doesn't really budge, and I kind of have to like nudge him and tell him like, hey, Juan, did you hear me? I have to. He's like, he kind of turns to me, he's like, can you hold it? So pretty much, I was like,
I
oh,
love
okay, I
that.
guess,
I,
yeah, and so yeah,
God, what a character.
yeah. So he tells me, can you hold it?
You know what? That comment,
Uh-huh.
I think Juan has just earned a place on the.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
we're gonna have to get him on here because I'm gonna have to.
uh,
You know what? This is my, you know what? I don't care. I don't care if he's
uh-huh.
cited. I don't care if he's cited.
Uh-huh. Well,
This is
he's
my,
yeah,
this
he's
is
very
my sense
quiet.
of, he
Oh
will,
yeah.
oh, he's not gonna be quiet with me.
Uh,
This is my sense of humor for sure.
right.
For
Oh yeah.
sure.
He's not joking. He wasn't joking at all. Like
No,
he actually.
I wouldn't be joking
Yeah.
either. I'm not getting up during a
Yeah.
movie. And you know what?
Yeah.
You know what? Another funny story.
Yeah.
Another similar thing to that. When I would go
Mm-hmm.
to the theater, it would always gross out my mother because I would get an
Uh,
extra large pop, a
oh.
big jumbo thing of popcorn. Extra synthetic butter and all. Oh
Right.
man, oh so good, so good, so good. And then a nice big a nice big Mr. Pibb, with a nice big
Oh
straw.
yeah.
I would sit down and watch the whole movie, and then
Right.
on my way out, I'd be like, okay, now I have to use the restroom. And my mother would always ask, how do you hold it? And I say it's
Right.
very simple. I say I have a timer. I have little timers. I have little buttons that I push, and I'm able to
Uh,
schedule. I'm able to time my piss like that. But
right.
hey, what? That takes practice, right? If you're in a
Yeah.
civil
Yeah.
engineer, if you're
Yeah.
in a civil engineer, you're going to have to take a piss during
Right.
Jurassic Park. Okay, it
Right.
it
Well, my
is
brother's
it
very.
is a misdemeanor in the movie community. I would have you fined for it. Let's get you up to
Right.
maybe $1,000. I mean, it's totally unacceptable. But
Yeah.
if
No, I
you aren't
know.
a pro, just dude, just put the timer on, okay?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
come on, man.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
I'm talking to my friends that I should wear like an adult diaper or something, just so my brother will take me like the right way.
you
And
know,
my brother
but
brags.
but
He's
but
bragged
but
about.
what's cool? Okay, but you know what's cool about that joke though?
Uh-huh.
Pro- you know what? That would probably fix it
It
because
would. It would.
because it would definitely fix it. I'll tell you why. The thought of sitting next to someone in an adult
Oh
movie
wow.
theater with a diaper is so terrifying that
Right.
I'd rather take you to the restroom so I don't have to
Yeah.
be in the theater with the diaper.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
so
Well, yeah.
that's a comedy routine right there.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you,
Yeah.
in my own teaching job, I
Mm.
work for Company X or something. I teach students from all over
Mhm.
the world.
Oh wow.
um, it's interesting, how your family's from Mexico. I've had very
Mhm.
few students from Mexico, and actually, I've never had in my analytic tools on the podcast, I've never had
Mhm.
the Mexican flag. I've never had.
Oh, okay.
Um, I've noticed that your region, the region of Mexico and Latin America,
Mhm.
with the exception of Colombia and Brazil,
Mhm.
has actually very few listeners.
Oh, okay.
So not too many people know about podcasting in that region. It's very interesting
Oh wow.
and very strange because Mexico is a huge country. You would think that one of them would listen to a
Right.
podcast, but
Oh
it
yeah.
doesn't. I mean, I'm sure that if I spoke Spanish, which I don't, my
Right.
language is French, but I'm sure if I was a
Right.
Spanish
Oh wow.
speaker, I would find I mean, there are Mexican podcasters, but of course I
Yeah.
don't know of them, and many of them don't know of me. I
Right.
would. By the way,
Right. Right.
I'd be delighted if more podcasters from your region come to Aaron's
Right.
Opinion. They're welcome here.
That'd be
Anyway, I
good.
was
Yeah.
I was I was teaching this one guy. Um, a Portuguese guy or something like that along the
Mhm.
way, and he was
Mhm.
he was like a civil engineer, like Juan, a civil engineer,
Oh wow.
and or something, and his
Right.
dream was to go see the ball drop on New Year's
Oh
Eve,
wow.
you
Uh
know.
huh.
And I told him, I said, um, you know, they lock you into a space on the street and you can't use the bathroom for 12 hours. He says, so I said, so what are you going to do about that? He
Uh-huh.
says, I'm definitely just going to get a diaper. I'm going to wear a diaper. And then he says, but then my wife says that's a problem.
No,
He
that
said,
makes sense.
and then the other social joke is that there's no, I'm serious about it. People really do wear diapers at the
Oh,
at
I'm
the
sure.
at the
At the
at
time
the
at
when
the
they
ball drops.
yes, they really
Oh
do. And
wow.
there's a famous Japanese reporter who told their followers, like the young people on social media, that they're in diapers
Oh
reporting on
wow.
New Year's Eve, and they
Oh wow.
laugh, and it's a big, but it's
But
no
it's
joke.
real.
It's real.
Right.
And to
Wow.
me,
Wow.
again, just like sitting next to you in the movie theater with a diaper, dude, you know what? If we go to the
Right.
movies, okay,
Yeah.
if I have to take you to the bathroom, I'm gonna take you.
Right.
You aren't wearing a diaper next to me in the theater, okay?
Yeah.
No, just ain't. I'm just I not doing that. Okay? No, that's too terrifying. If I want to be terrified,
Right.
I would watch a scary movie. But you would scare me more than the horror. Okay? That's
Right.
an
That's
R-rated
fine.
horror. You're going to. And can you imagine if you were like even creepier than that? Even creepier than that,
Right.
Humor. Can you imagine if we were like at some movie like with friends,
Right.
and it was like March of the Penguins or some like cute like
Right.
young like
Oh
a
right.
G-rated movie, and then I would tell people, yeah, I was at the movie. It was nice. It was about like little animals jumping through the mellow, but there was this guy sitting next to me in a diaper. Like,
Right.
oh
Oh
my god,
yeah.
that would be
Oh
that would
yeah.
be material. That would be material. Um,
Yeah, well, that'd be a story for sure. I think that person will
that
go to
would be
say, yeah.
an episode. Well, I
Oh
I I'm
yeah.
quite I I'm quite strict about these matters. No,
That's fine.
I time it. I time my bathroom breaks. I have a little timer setting. Maybe we can get you one at some point. But
Right.
what yeah, what you do is you put yourself on a timer and then you just sit through the whole movie, and then you jump up and right when it ends, you run out really fast. You
Right.
slam the door really loud, and then you rush it.
Right.
All right.
Oh yeah.
Anyway. Well, that was kind of a that was a
I
horror
guess.
story. Where we
Oh
really
yeah.
jumped into a horror story, but no,
Oh yeah.
a lot of people love going to the movies. It's very
Hmm.
common for engineers. That doesn't
Right.
surprise me because
Yeah. Oh
a
yeah.
lot
He
of
enjoys it.
them, yeah,
And
that's not surprising.
yeah, he brags about because we like the Marvel movies, the superhero movies, and some of
Yeah,
those are like super long.
yeah,
And he bragged about like how many times he went to the theater to watch that movie, and it was like
yeah,
3 hours long every time. And
yeah.
he says, "Oh, I went to the movie 6 times, and I was there like 4 hours almost, and I didn't go to the restroom once." So he kind of like he takes pride in that, you know. So to him, it's something that he like he's proud that he doesn't like go to the restroom. And unlike me, he says I have like a baby bladder, or my friends say I have like a baby bladder, or whatever. So but
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
kind of one of those things. But anyway, like that time that we went, and he told me like, just hold it. Can you hold it? And I was like, okay. So I was kind of like, it was. I looked up how long the movie was, and I was like, oh, it's still like another hour. And I was like, oh wow. So I was like, oh, I guess I ended like up falling asleep. So I took a nap during the movie, and my brother said that I was kind of
No, no, no,
snoring.
no, 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 no. That's not
Yeah,
allowed
that's already a
either.
strike two. That's a strike two already. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
God, God, you're high maintenance. Oh my God,
Right.
you're a
Yeah.
high
That's what
maintenance
somebody
movie
said.
goer.
Oh yeah. Well, I was just trying to like not to think about going to the restroom, and then and he said I was snoring, but he said nobody could hear me because of the dinosaurs were roaring. So that's kind of like I guess it disguised it. And then when I woke up, I told him like I still have to go to the restroom, but now I have to go to number two also. So he told me, can you hold that too? And I was like, I guess. So pretty much I was like, as soon as the movie ended, I was like, come on, like let's go home, So that was like,
Oh man,
yeah.
is that my
So
Oh God.
after that time is when he made the rule. Like whenever I take you to the movie, you have to like I have to have seen it once
Yeah.
before at least.
Yeah, I
So
think
that's what caused it. Yeah.
Luis, I think between you and I, you don't need to tell
Right.
your brother this, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Juan would just prefer not to have to take Luis to the theater.
Yeah. Yeah. And he kind of offers me sometimes like, you want to go? But I can tell he's kind of like not really. He's just trying to be nice, right? I can tell he would prefer not to.
Yeah,
But
but
yeah.
people get like that about
Right. Oh
about
yeah.
certain things.
It's his thing for
Man,
sure. It's his thing. Yeah, he
man,
enjoys it a lot. Hmm.
that's funny.
Yeah.
That's a weird twist to into
Right.
this episode. Yeah.
Yeah. And but there was something that I was gonna mention about that. Like, so A Quiet Place. I saw the
Okay,
first
right.
one, and then when we went to go see part two, it was the first time that I went to the theater like in a year. So the second time when I went, they have the little boxes that have the descriptive audio, and they just give you a headset.
Hmm.
And so pretty much like it happened to me before, but I just didn't want it to happen this time. That the headset didn't work. So
Oh
pretty
man.
much
Oh man.
this is the worst movie that you can like have the audio description not
Sure.
work because it's
Sure.
like just
Sure.
it's just quiet the whole time. And there's a
Shh.
yeah, and there's a
Sure.
super
Sure.
quiet the whole time. And there's a character that's deaf, and every now and then it kind of goes into her perspective. So it's like literally like everything just shuts off completely.
Right.
So
Right. Right.
so
So
yeah, it was kind of
so
yeah, it was just
I want to
uh-huh.
I want to say okay, hold please hold that for just
Right.
one moment.
Yes, yes.
So we're actually starting to run out of time.
Okay, okay.
I don't mean to interrupt you so abruptly.
Oh no, no.
It's been a pleasure having you, and in fact,
Oh, likewise.
don't hang up. I'm just trying to time it well for the radio station. So Luis, before you
Oh,
go,
there's a radio station.
before you go, eventually, yes,
Oh wow.
it's very exciting. Yeah, we're actually syndicated on a station. Do you have
Oh
any?
wow.
I mean, I think just the fact that we had such an entertaining and meaningful conversation together, that really taught society a lot, I hope. But is
Right.
there any final words of wisdom that you want to give the audience before I end the recording?
um no, just kind of well, as far as that, like I know there's a lot of podcasts or the entertainment about or things about like, skills, learning skills and stuff like that. But I mean, even though we're blind, we still have fun. You know what I mean? Like we still like to watch movies. We like to, we still like to do things that are quote unquote normal, so it's just kind of like for society not to have like a stereotype of like
because I've told some of my friends that, or some people, like I go to the movies and they're like, well, what? You're blind though, or how do you do it? You know, like it's just, I guess, just educating people that even though we're blind, we can still like enjoy movies and enjoy
Yeah, even
YouTube and a
though
lot of things. Mhm.
yeah, even though you're blind, I want to say
Right.
I want to thank you so much for coming, and we can end
Mhm.
it on a
Thank
note
you for having me.
of great humor and great sense of inspiration. Even though you're blind, you can still go to the movies and hide in the
Right.
bathroom, and you can still hide in the bathroom, right?
Just wear a diaper. Yeah, pretty much.
All right, cool, man. Let's end it right there. All right, everybody, take care. Have a good night. That was a great.